What's up, guys? It's Melissa, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Melissa, and I do these true crime videos. Listen, guys, here on the channel, we talk about awareness. So we're going to talk about missing persons, we're going to talk about unsolved murders, and we're also going to talk about cases that need some attention because there's an injustice. This case that we're going to cover this week is a lot of those points. We have an unsolved murder, we have a missing person, and we have one of the victims in this case who actually got justice in this last week. So I want to talk to you about the Bakersfield 3, and it is a case that I have covered before, and I'll make sure to link the two videos that I've done in the past in the description box below. Before we jump into the video, I do want to point out my TikTok. I am actively posting over there. We have a bunch of cases that we posted about missing persons, unsolved cases, so do make sure you check that out. If you don't have a TikTok, go make one. I'll wait for you. Come back. Make sure you hit subscribe, and let's just go ahead and jump right into the video. As I mentioned before, I have covered this case in the past, and there are two videos that are going to be linked down below. I really want to point out the first one because in the first one, I do talk a lot about the victims and their lives, and that is important because at the end of the day, these are real people and this is really happening to them, and I don't want to lose sight of that. But for the sake of this video not being too long, I might be jumping in more to the case. Let me give you a quick summary of how this case started. So in March of 2018, a man by the name of Micah Holsenbake went missing in Bakersfield, California. His friends and family were starting to look for him, and they were very concerned about him. 2 weeks later, on April 8th of 2018, a man by the name of James Colstad was arriving at someone's house when he was shot and killed in what they are now considering to be a drive-by shooting. And of course, his family was very concerned, and they were putting out flyers and feelers to find out if anyone knew who could have done this. And then a couple weeks later, on April 25th of 2018, a young girl by the name of Baylee Despot goes missing, and her family is very concerned. Where can she be? Very quickly after that, the moms and the dads of these three people got together because they started realizing that as they were reaching out to their kids' friends, everyone kept saying, hey, what about this person? Did you know about that case? And they realized that while maybe not exactly related, these three cases were related, and they came together and formed the Bakersfield 3. Now, I don't ever want to lose sight of this because as we talk, we're going to realize that part of this case isn't exactly connected, and I never want to lose sight of what the Bakersfield 3 moms did. They work with other families who are going through a missing child to help comfort them and console them and walk them through what they've experienced in the last couple of years, as well as they raised over $17,000 to donate to the Kern County Search and Rescue.
The mothers of the Bakersfield 3 are helping the sheriff's office with its search and rescue missions. The charity raised enough money to buy a side-scan sonar system for the sheriff's department. It can be used to search underwater for the bodies of missing people. The Board of Supervisors approved the donation this morning. Kern County Sheriff Donnie Youngblood said in the past they've had to borrow that same technology from Tulare County. The charity Moms of Missing and Murdered was formed by the mothers of Micah Holsonbake, Baylee Despot, and James Colstad, crime victims whose cases are still unsolved. James Colstad was murdered in 2018. Baylee Despot is still missing, and Micah Holsonbake's arm was found in the Kern River in 2018, but it took months to match his DNA and identify it. Youngblood says the department wants to use the sonar with rapid DNA technology to enhance its capabilities when searching for and identifying the bodies of missing people in Kern.
Let's go ahead and talk about what happened with their children. The first person to be affected in the Bakersfield 3 was Micah Holsonbake, and he disappeared on March 23rd of 2018.
I'm sure somebody would say, well, Lance would light up a room when he walked into it. No, I wouldn't. Definitely wouldn't. But Micah really would. He was one of those kind of people. Very smart. He was very intelligent. When he was a little kid, we always call him Stats, because he would give you statistics on anything.
Family recalls Micah's love for football and the debate and forensics teams. After a year of college at Harding University, he joined the Navy, but was eventually discharged because of reoccurring issues with growths in his throat. Back in Bakersfield, he started his own family and began a successful career in banking.
In the weeks prior to Micah going missing, he was talking to his father, Lance, and he had mentioned to him that he was worried.
He was very afraid for his life and involved in some things that at first I didn't know what they were, and he'd never behaved that way before, so when he would tell me yeah, I'm afraid that this guy and this guy's in this group or whatever. I was thinking, he's paranoid. You know, I always thought somebody was following us in the car. He's paranoid. And I didn't know how much of it was real, how much of it was just in his mind and exacerbated by any kind of drug use or drugs he may have been using.
This was a very big situation that he got himself into, and he was involved in the making of illegal weapons and distributing and selling them. Yeah, illegal weapons manufacturing. They were making guns, and this was kind of shocking because the area of town that they were in, people didn't expect this to be happening. So this was kind of big news, and everyone started talking about it. The next thing to happen was on April 8th of 2018, and this involves the shooting of James Colstad.
Police say James Colstad was gunned down in the driveway of a South Bakersfield home on April 8th of 2018.
That man could sell a dollar bill on the side of the road for $1 million if you could just get 5 minutes with you.
After losing her mother in a car accident as a baby, Cameron grew up especially close to her father. She and her dad looking up at the stars for hours, her father telling her endless stories about her mother as an angel in heaven.
That kept me going my whole life, I think. Just like, I knew the love he had for her. That is the one thing I think I get peace from, is knowing that they're together.
One of the more memorable things about James Colstad for loved ones is his entrepreneurial spirit. From owning his own skateboard shop and getting a patent for his invention, torch trucks, to less mess bibs, Colstad found success early on in life. But in the last few years before Colstad's death, things were tough.
That was one of our main talks. You do not get yourself involved in drugs. It is not okay.
On the night of April 8th, it is reported that he was on his way to a chiropractor's house. Now, this chiropractor has since he's been charged with weapons and he's lost his license and everything. So this is who he's headed over to this guy's house. James is calling this chiropractor on the phone and he's like, hey, I'm coming to get money. And James is like, I'm coming over there. Now the chiropractor turns to a guy named Ryan. Who's Ryan? That's James's brother.
I was at someone's house and he called that person. That person owed him money, and the guy said, you know, to have him not come over here. If I have to, I'll have my boys come over and they'll come strapped and take care of the problem. And I was like, well, you know, not thinking what was going to happen.
I will make sure I link this episode for you because Ryan is interviewed and he says very clearly, I'm telling you right now, I don't know anything more. Now, he says as he's leaving, he sees that his brother James is driving up, headed towards the chiropractor's house. He sees his brother, sees him, and he assumes that James is going to turn around and follow him. But he says as he comes up, he makes a turn, and he hears gunshots. He flips back around, he comes back, and he finds that his brother James has been shot. And he says he has no idea who did it. I can't even tell you the names of all the people that were there at the house. I'm sure they're working on this, but like that's all publicly we really know is that he was at someone's house. He went there to collect something. The chiropractor said, me and my boys are going to handle him if he shows up. He showed up and somebody handled him and nobody knows who did it. I know. This one always makes me very uncomfortable. But I have to trust that they just really can't get this information because this is back to 2018 and James's murder remains completely unsolved. Now, I'm talking to you about Micah's case and I'm going to tell you about Baylee's case and then we're going to talk about the trial that happened. And it's important to know that James's case is included because it's included. It makes sense that these are the same people, but the police department locally, Bakersfield Police Department, and the DA's office has said that they do not consider these cases to be directly linked to each other. And they consider James's shooting to be considered a drive-by style shooting. Now, April 25th of 2018, Baylee Despot goes missing. So Baylee Despot is 20 years old. She grew up here in town. She wants to be a nurse. She wants to be a pilot. Again, I talk a lot about her in the first video that I made. And she ends up getting married, and then she quickly comes back and gets a divorce. This all happened very quickly. And then she's dating a guy. It's not going very well. She ends up having to get a restraining order against him. And lo and behold, the person who helps her is a friend by the name of Micah Holsenbake, okay? So they were friends. Baylee very quickly, though, is getting into this lifestyle, obviously, of hanging out with this same group of people, and she starts to have some troubles.
It's like something you'd see in a movie. You just never think it's gonna happen to you, especially to a girl that's grown up in a good neighborhood, raised by good parents, had a good childhood, could have had everything she ever wanted, but took that wrong turn in life.
Then she gets arrested for a drunken disorderly outside of Micah's house. And then in December, she takes a plea deal because she was riding in a car with a 40-year-old man by the name of Matthew Queen. I think he's 44. She's riding with Matthew Queen in the car, and they get pulled over. This is her new boyfriend. And they have 3 unmarked weapons in the car. Like, no markings on them. These are illegal weapons. So Baylee and Matthew Queen are arrested. Baylee ends up taking a plea deal, but she tells her mother it didn't go well, and Matthew was still waiting on these charges. Baylee Despot goes missing. Her family cannot get a hold of her. They can't find her, and her boyfriend, Matthew Queen, ends up dropping off her stuff at her house, and then he ends up moving along with his life and ends up dating her friend. It's a whole mess. He gets another girl pregnant, moves her in, as if like this isn't happening. And the Bakersfield 3 moms are all coming together, and I had heard this recently, and I had not seen it prior, but on one of their posts, the Bakersfield 3 moms are posting about the 3 kids. There are 3 kids trying to figure out what's going on. And apparently, Matthew Queen leaves a comment that says, "What would you do if one of them ended up hurting the other?" And that made a lot of people uncomfortable. A lot of people always wondered what happened to Baylee. Like, if Micah disappeared and he was in this whole weapons thing, so maybe Baylee knew what happened, and maybe they made her disappear, or maybe she's in hiding. And that's where everyone's brains were for a very long time. In August of 2018, near Hart Park in the body of water, which is like Lake Ming, the Kern River, it's all kind of the same. I'm not exactly sure. It's all in the same area. So in a body of water near Hart Park, some campers discover a bag. And inside of that bag is an arm. And they determine that that arm has been severed off, and it is the arm of Micah Holsenbake. So by December, right before Christmas, the family was notified that yes, this is the arm of Micah Holsenbake, and we do not believe that he is any longer alive. And unfortunately, that was the news that they were given in 2018. Later on, they did discover his skull, and then during the trial, which just happened, they actually discovered his vertebrae. At another time, they discovered some bone fragments, but to this day, the entire remains of Micah have never been found. That's where we have that Micah is no longer believed to be alive. Parts of his remains have been found. James Colstad has been shot. Nobody has no idea what it's regarding or who did it. But we all know it has to do something with that chiropractor and something to do with whatever he was collecting money for, believed to be weapons. And then now we have Baylee Despot, who is missing, who we know had been hanging out with Micah. And now this comes to the question of this Matthew Queen guy. Matthew Queen ends up getting arrested, and he is arrested for kidnapping charges. And it is after a long standoff. I'll insert a clip here from the news with more information.
The standoff was over a 2-hour time period.
It started around 3:30 Monday afternoon. Bakersfield police say they were following up on an ongoing kidnapping investigation on Buck Owens Boulevard. It was near the Bakersfield sign where officers found their suspect, 42-year-old Matthew Queen. And immediately,
Matthew Queen fled from officers, and during a short foot pursuit, he entered the water of the riverbed.
A shallow part of the Kern River between Beach Park and Yokutz Park. Police say he sheltered himself between concrete pillars under this bridge for nearly 2 hours.
During the course of officers negotiating with him, he refused to exit the riverbed.
Police say they couldn't safely follow Queen into the water due to the current. U.S. Marshals, the Kern County Sheriff's Office, City and County Fire were all on scene preparing for a possible river rescue. Finally,
he did ultimately surrender, and he exited voluntarily from the riverbed.
That was July of 2019, and Matthew Queen is arrested. And then we fast forward to May of 2020 when everyone got the big shock, and that was the fact that Matthew Queen was going to be charged with the murder of Micah and Baylee Despot was going to be charged as well. The DA released some information, but we did not get the full information till trial. So I'm going to go ahead and just share with you what was released at trial. According to the DA, they believe that Matthew Queen was accusing Micah Holsenbake of stealing a gun. They believe that they lured him to this location. It's actually another guy's house by the name of Matthew Vander Castile. He had an apartment with a detached garage, and he's the one who, it appears, turned and finally told the story after he got arrested. Okay, so he gets arrested, he turns, and now we get to trial and we find out what really happened. So Matthew Vander Castile has this garage, and the prosecutors allege that Matthew Queen and Baylee Despot had Micah come to this garage and that they tortured him for a period of time to get information about a gun that they believed that Micah had stolen. And then they dismembered his body and put his remains throughout Kern County. As we got into the trial, Matthew Queen testified, and he said a whole different story. He alleges that there was some sort of a dispute and that Baylee pointed a gun at Micah and that he disarmed Micah, and then for some reason Baylee dropped a 40-pound weight onto Micah's head, causing him to pass. And then they dismembered his body in Vander Castile's garage out of just trying to get rid of him because apparently police wouldn't believe that this was an accident. That is the statement he made. They paused the trial and they went on a search because if he was going to allege that she dropped this 40-pound weight, then they should be able to go find it with these remains that they disposed of, because he said that they disposed of that with the remains. They went, that's when they found the vertebrae, but they never found this weight. So who knows the real truth, because obviously Matthew Queen can't be trusted, but according to Matthew Queen, Baylee was the one who actually dropped something onto Micah's head, and Baylee's missing, so we don't know. According to Matthew Vander Castile, whose house it was, he said that he got a call from Matthew and Baylee that they needed to do something with Micah and that they had used his garage. And he claims that at one point Baylee came in and asked for a knife and then went back to the garage and then later changed her clothes. There is so much more that came out at trial in regards to the rope that was wrapped around the arm that was in the bag. That rope was also with Baylee's items. So there's a lot of information that police are using to go to this conclusion that Baylee was included in what happened to Micah. And since Baylee cannot be found, but there's no proof that she's not with us anymore, she was also charged. Matthew Vander Castile received 4 years for his involvement in these crimes. There were other things that were involved. Matthew Queen was charged with so many charges of weapons, kidnapping of 2 separate people where he threatened them. One of the people he pulled out of their bed and put a gun to their head. He was threatening people over things to do with the weapons, but one person he was threatening and pointing a gun at them, questioning them about whether or not Baylee was cheating on him. So there are a lot of questions about what could have happened to Baylee. Obviously, Matthew Queen is a horrible, vicious person who could have harmed her. According to the district attorney, they don't know. They said that they have received credible information that seems to show that she could have actually ran away and could be in hiding, but that they've actually feel like they have credible information that she's no longer with us and that something has happened to her. And she has never been seen since 2018. And she's very young, so it's not likely for her to have had the resources to be able to go find a whole new life and be off the grid when you're wanted for murder, because she has been charged back from May of 2020. All right, so that's what I have for you guys. We have a missing person, we have an unsolved murder, and there was some justice for Micah. Drop your guys' comments down below. I am curious to see what you guys think. I know you're screaming at the computer right now going, there is no way in hell that nobody knows what happened to James. I'm bothered by it too. If I knew this circle of people personally, I'd be knocking on their doors, because this one drives me crazy, and I know that it absolutely bothers his family that people will not tell them what happened. What do you think of Baylee? Do you think she's out there? Do you think something happened to her? I want her mother Jane so badly to have those answers. She really is hopeful, and the other moms continue to stay supportive of her, because honestly, we don't know. What if something happened to her and they're never going to get the answers and she's gone, so she can't be held to justice and Jane won't get that answer, or she's out there and then maybe she can come back and she can explain maybe she wasn't involved, or she can be held to justice as well if she was involved, because that's the right thing to do as well. Micah finally received some justice, and Matthew Queen was sentenced to life in prison. Technically, he got 30 to life for the murder of Micah, but with the other kidnapping charges and the like over 36 weapons charges that he had against him as a felon, he's gone, long gone. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sorry that I know I went and I just flew into it, but it's because I've already done 2 videos and I just want to respect you guys' time. Let me know what you think. Drop your comments. Again, if you want to come over to TikTok, that is the best way to drop a comment to me of any case that you want for me to cover, because I'm guaranteed to see it for sure. Everything else gets kind of lost. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for being with me. And yeah, let's do the same thing we do at the end of every video. Are we still? Yeah. Hug your babies, hug your loves. Life is precious. Enjoy every minute of every day. Don't take anything for granted. Did I say it fast enough? I love you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.